Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे. जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम. जय निताय गौरांगो जय निताय गौरांगो. जय प्रहलाद नरसिम्हा जय सुदर्शना. जय जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय. मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय. नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय. जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र की जय. गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय. वृंद देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र की जय. श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय. श्री श्री निताय गौरांग की जय. श्री श्री प्रहलाद नरसिंह देव की जय. समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, text number 5. नद्यः समुद्रा गिरयः नद्यः समुद्रा गिरयः सवनस्पति विरुधः सवनस्पति विरुधः फलन्ति ओषधयः सर्वाः फलन्त्योषधयः सर्वाः कामम् अन्वृतु तस्य वै कामम् अन्वृतु तस्य वै नद्यः समुद्रा गिरयः सवनस्पति विरुधः फलन्त्योषधयः सर्वाः कामम् अन्वृतु तस्य वै नद्यः समुद्रा गिरयः सवनस्पति विरुधः फलन्त्योषधयः सर्वाः कामम् अन्वृतु तस्य वै नद्यः समुद्रा गिरयः सवनस्पति विरुधः फलन्त्योषधयः सर्वाः कामम् अन्वृतु तस्य वै नद्यः समुद्रा गिरयः सवनस्पति विरुधः फलन्त्योषधयः सर्वाः कामम् अन्वृतु तस्य वै नद्यः समुद्रा गिरयः सवनस्पति विरुधः फलन्त्योषधयः सर्वाः नद्यः rivers समुद्राः oceans गिरयः hills and mountains सवनस्पति vegetables विरुधः creepers फलन्ति active ओषधयः drugs सर्वाः all कामम् necessities अन्वृतु seasonal tasya for the king vai certainly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Please repeat. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Since Maharaj Yudhishthir was under the protection of the Ajita, the infallible Lord, as above mentioned, the properties of the Lord, namely The rivers, oceans, hills, forests, etc., were all pleased, and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. The secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without his sanction, nothing can be possible. To make economic development by our own endeavors on the strength of tools and machinery is not all. The sanction of the Supreme Lord must be there. Otherwise, despite all instrumental arrangements, everything will be unsuccessful. The ultimate cause of success is Daiva, the Supreme. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of people. Actually, the state belongs to the Supreme Lord. The rivers, oceans, forests, hills, drugs, etc., are not creations of man. They are all creations of the Supreme Lord, and the living being is allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for the service of the Lord. Today's slogan is that everything is for the people, and therefore the government is for the people and by the people. But to produce a new species of humanity at the present moment on the basis of God consciousness and perfection of human life, the ideology of godly communism, the world has to again follow in the footsteps of kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir or Parikshit. There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without enmity between man, or man and animal, or man and nature. The control of the Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of the nature will be pleased. The river will flow profusely to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls, and jewels. The forest will supply sufficient wood, drugs, and vegetables, and the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity. The artificial way of living, depending on factories and tools, can render so called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions. Since the energy of the mass of people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered, and for this the mass is unhappy. Without being educated properly, the mass of people are following in the footsteps of the vested interests by exploiting natural reserves, and therefore there is acute competition between individual and nation. There is no control by the trained agent of the Lord. We must look into the defects of modern civilization by comparison here, and should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthir to cleanse man and wipe out anachronisms. Thus is the Bhaktivedanta purport. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. This is further description of the situation at the time of reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir. When he was ruling, the nature was giving abundant supply of all the resources. Now the situation is sometimes there is flooding or there is no water at all. So we have made a lot of advancement, wonderful cities, glass buildings, but inside glass building there is no water in the glass. You are very rich, but there is no water, then what is the use? How shall we survive? Or there is so much water, man is telling, there is nothing for me to live for. Why? He purchased three expensive cars. All of them got washed in the flood. It all my three cars have been destroyed. Now there is nothing worth living for in my life. So there is a lot of disturbance. And this, unfortunately, because of our limited intelligence, we are not able to understand. We think it is automatic and by chance, but nothing is by chance. Behind the control of nature, there is the control of Deva. Deva means supernatural, demigods. So, be it forests, oceans, rivers, every department of nature is controlled by certain personalities. Everything is personal in nature, nothing is impersonal. When the government is not proper, what is the meaning of improper government? They don't understand whom does it belong to. Here it is explained. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of people. The kings were knowing perfectly well that king is actually the agent of Supreme Lord to look after the welfare. So this is extremely important. Human beings have got more intelligence so that human beings can take care of welfare of others who do not have sufficient intelligence. And this not just includes the common masses, the human beings, but also the animals, all kinds of living entities. So this is called spiritual communism. It is not that like capitalism, you earn for your own. So it is explained it is the duty of a householder to take care of all the species, not just his own kids. But a householder is supposed to take care of all the animals also within the house. The animals, the lizards, and even the snake is there. Householder should be so compassionate. Although we read in one place that if snake is found everywhere or found anywhere, he can be killed. Modate sadhurapi vrishchika sarpa hatya. When scorpion and snake are killed, the sadhus also take pleasure because they are very, very envious. So they get relief from this envious species. But the householder is supposed to be so compassionate. If any snake has taken shelter of the house, then he's supposed to take care of snake also. Feed such envious species also, which is always ready to attack. So in this way, it is a duty that human beings should take care of everyone. And if a human being does not do that, then the intelligence is taken away. Human being also gets an animal birth. So if we don't utilize anything properly, that opportunity is taken away. So we have got intelligence to take care of those who have no intelligence. So Maharaj Yudhishthir was knowing perfectly well that king is the agent of Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of mass of people. They are all creations of the Supreme Lord, and the living being is allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for the service of the Lord. The control of the Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of the nature will be pleased. The river will flow profusely to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls, and jewels. The forest will supply sufficient wood, drugs, and vegetables. So, yesterday we were discussing because in Janmashtami, we offer the deities new ornaments, jewelries. So, I was asking, how much does it cost? And then I got to know that how expensive it has become. Silver, they are telling, is 70,000 rupees per kg. It was, I was not aware that it has become so expensive. And I asked, what is gold, Prabhu? You told gold is 70,000 rupees for 10 grams. 10 gram of gold is 70,000 rupees. What you can get in 10 grams? We read in Mahabharata that the elephants in the battlefield of Kurukshetra are decorated with golden ornaments. Thousands of elephants are there, and elephants are decorated with golden ornaments. So what is the opulence? We cannot even imagine. So from where this gold is coming? Why the gold is not there now? It is hidden. Nothing is by chance. So the resources are hidden. If the living entity becomes thief, he does not know how to use in the service of the Lord. Otherwise, so much gold is there that the animals are also decorated with gold. Now, wife is also offered plastic bangles. This is advancement. And animals they used to decorate with gold. The soldiers would go there and they would wear gold to go and fight. The armors were studded with gold. The walls were studded with jewels. So this was the opulence. So thus, if we become devotee, as it is told in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada explains, Ananyas-chintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam. So now also if somebody follows the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthir or Maharaj Parikshit, how to follow their footsteps? Ananyah chintayanto mam. Without any deviation, one is able to think of Krishna. Ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam. And one who is always engaged in the service of Krishna, then Krishna tells, Yogakshemam vahami aham. I protect what a person has and I provide what a person lacks. Personally, Krishna tells that too. And thus we have heard story of Arjunacharya, how he wanted some groceries and Krishna Balaram personally supplied. So Lord is always supplying personally to the devotees. Sometimes he may be visible, like in case of Arjunacharya. It is Lord's mercy so that we can understand, yes, Lord is doing personally. But Lord can do it by his personal energies also. In material world, everything is by laws of karma, external energy. But when we become devotee, Krishna personally takes charge. So that is why it is told, Akama sarva kamava moksha kama udaradhi. No, but I have desire for material enjoyment. So let me go to some other devata. So it is told, no. Even if you go to other devatas cannot change our destiny. Whatever we are supposed to have, that much only we can have. But if you go to Krishna, we can get something which otherwise is impossible to be attained by normal course of activities. Even though it is not there in our destiny, Krishna can give that because Krishna is beyond destiny. He is the creator of destiny. Otherwise, nobody can help us to get anything beyond the laws of karma. So therefore, even if a person has got material desires, ideally one should not have. But even if a person has got material desires, it is told, please go and take shelter of Krishna. When Krishna blesses, then he can give. And of course, Krishna reciprocates as per the devotee. If devotee is very neophyte, then he may give material opulence. And if devotee is advanced, he may take away everything. If a neophyte devotee, he goes to Krishna, Krishna takes away, then he will not go at all. I went to Krishna and see what happened in my life. So that is why for those people who are new, Krishna reciprocates very nicely. And they become very happy. Prabhu, I chanted one round. See, I got this thing. So Krishna reciprocates. He draws them closer to his feet. But then Krishna tells, if a person is actually sincere in spiritual life, at the same time he wants material profit also, then what happens? Then he'll become loser number one. If he wants Krishna, if he's sincere. If he's not so sincere, Krishna may give material benefits he will give very easily. If one is very sincere to advance in spiritual life, then one must understand material benefit is of no use. Then such a person is made materially unsuccessful by Krishna. When one becomes unsuccessful, nobody cares for him. Especially the family members, they don't care at all. And that is the strongest bondage. And when family members do not care, then a person becomes completely detached. He takes shelter of Krishna. So this is special mercy of Krishna shown to a person who has received favor of Krishna, who wants to advance in spiritual life. But anyway, the principle remains the same. If we take shelter of Krishna, either for material life or spiritual life, everything will be provided. And of course, initially it may look like the life of devotee has become very tough. It is just to bring a devotee under shelter of Krishna. Like Srila Prabhupada himself explains. Although it is pastime of Prabhupada, but Prabhupada explains how difficult it was when I took sannyas and the bull is hitting, there is no money, so much difficulty in living. But now Prabhupada tells that Krishna took away few children, but now I have got unlimited children. My own children could not have taken such care as all of you are taking. Children are putting in old age homes, their parents. And here how nicely they are taking care of Prabhupada. So thus initially it may look that there is some struggle, but that struggle is created by Krishna so that we can take his shelter. But otherwise a devotee is always kept materially. There is no dearth of material resources also. But what has to be done? Ananya chintayanto mam ye jana paripasate. Without any deviation, one has to think of lotus feet of Krishna. One who does this without any deviation and nitya abhiyuktanam, always engaged in service of Krishna, then everything is given. All the material resources are there. Material life is very, very comfortable. And at the same time, spiritual life is also whatever we have, the qualities for making spiritual advancement, whatever we lack, those things will be supplied by Krishna. Whatever we have, that will be preserved by Krishna. So this is extremely important that we take care of these two principles, following the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthir. First is Nanya Chintayantu Mam, without any deviation, we think of Krishna. Thus Prabhupada writes. So Prabhupada had many wonderful devotees who helped Prabhupada like anything in the beginning of the movement. And to one such devotee, Prabhupada is writing. 29th October 1969. Regarding your business and spiritual practices, I give you special permission as follows. So he was very expert businessman. And Prabhupada, he requested Prabhupada, please give me some exemption. In business, I have no time to chant even 16 rounds, what to speak of other things. So please, Prabhupada, make some exemption for me. And he was doing very nice business and giving the results of business to Prabhupada completely, 100%. So thus Prabhupada gave this unique exemption to him. What was the exemption? Regarding your business and spiritual practices, I give you special permission as follows. You find out of 24 hours at least, how much? 2 hours? No. Special exemption. At least 1 hour, conveniently for chanting Hare Krishna with great attention, but this is required. So Prabhupada told, okay, so for all of us, we have to do 2 hours or 16 rounds, but here Prabhupada gave special exemption. You just chant for 1 round. Out of 24 hours, you take out 1 hour for chanting Hare Krishna with great attention. This is very important. Chanting Hare Krishna with great attention. Attention is very, very important. Without attention, without focus, if you put a piece of paper under a lens and we do not focus, will the paper burn? In 4 hours, 5 hours, hot sun, afternoon, hot afternoon, in the summer season, in the Arabian desert, clear sky. If you put the paper without focus, paper will burn in 2 hours, 3 hours, 2 days, 2 years, 20 years, 2000 years? Never. But if you focus, how long will it take to burn? A few seconds maybe. 2-3 seconds are sufficient to burn. So thus attention is very much required. That is why throughout the scriptures it is told. Prabhupada also explains the realization, spiritual realization happens by hearing with rapt attention. Whatever spiritual practices we are doing, it is just to bring us to the point of rapt attention. This is very, very important. Spiritual realization happens by hearing with rapt attention. One who has learned how to hear attentively, for his spiritual life will be ever fresh. He will never feel hackneyed, boring. Always it will be fresh. One who has learned how to give attention. And unfortunately, in today's life, what we are losing is attention. Just see this called advancement. The only thing which is required for spiritual realization has been made so easy. You simply hear with attention. Now that attention also Maya has taken away. There were 2 3 hours lectures in the universities few years ago, and then they figured out attention span has become very less. They reduced it to 1 hour. Now further they tell 17 minutes. So we have talks for 17 minutes now. Now they are telling few minutes. Attention span is continuously going down. That is why when we sometimes take session, no art of mind control, and the session is over. After session, people ask question. What do they ask? Sir, I have a question. How to control the mind? Topic is art of mind control. We have spoken for 1 hour how to control the mind. And after the session, he is telling, I have one question, how to control the mind. So means he was mentally absent during the entire session. This is the situation. All the body is here. That is why Prabhupada tells half an hour, please do kirtan before you speak. Otherwise, they will not be able to hear. So this kirtan is not time filler that we do. It is most important. Otherwise, we cannot understand spiritual subject matter. It is very, very important. That is why Prabhupada told half an hour kirtan, then lecture, followed by kirtan again. Then we'll be able to understand. By kirtan, mind becomes little sane, comes to sattva guna. So this attention is very, very important. The more successful the person is, the less attentive, more distracted, more mental diseases, more disturbed. So attention is the key. So Prabhupada is telling here, with attention. If you are not attentive, Prabhupada tells you chant for many, many lifetimes. So we have to practice cultivating attention. How shall we cultivate attention? All the rules and regulations that we follow. We can have attention in Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna, one who is a Brahmana, he can have Shama, Dama, mind control and sense control. So coming to Sattva Guna is very much important. That is why all these practices, getting up early in the morning, Brahmurta, morning program, evening program, sadhana, taking bath twice in a day, and then having only Krishna Prasadam, sattvic food, not working too much, not being very lazy. All these rules and regulations are just to bring us to platform of Sattva Guna. And then there will be attention. At least 1 hour conveniently for chanting Hare Krishna with great attention, Prabhupada has told. At least 1 hour you take out. Where should one chant? In the temple, outside the temple? Yes, in the temple, chanting is 1,000 times more effective. But here Prabhupada is telling, either by the deities or any place, without being disturbed by anyone else. You chant by the deities or at any place, but without being disturbed. That is most important. If you are by the deities and a lot of commotion is happening, you are getting disturbed, then it is not nice. So thus Prabhupada tells, either by the deities or any place, without being disturbed by anyone else. So when I am chanting, I should not be disturbed by anyone else. So we should try to get so much absorbed in chanting. And then Prabhupada explains, you have 23 hours for other things. Now these 23 hours, what are we supposed to do? Prabhupada tells, whatever you do in them, either eating or working or sleeping, you always try to think of Krishna. So although Prabhupada gave exemption that you can chant 1 hour with great attention, but balance 23 hours, what is supposed to be done? Whatever in 23 hours the devotee is doing, Prabhupada explained, whatever you do in them, either eating or working or sleeping, you always try to think of Krishna. That will keep you intact of Krishna consciousness. So even while eating, one should think of Krishna. While working, so at these times it is very difficult to think of Krishna. When there is very tasty food, we forget everything. But while eating, one should think of Krishna. While working, Work demands a lot of attention. It is very difficult to think of anything else, but it is told while working also, one should think of Krishna. And while sleeping, we are in full control of our mind, but even at that time, one is supposed to think of Krishna. While we are awakened, we should practice thinking of Krishna so nicely that in sleep also we think of Krishna. That is why Prabhupada explains evening program is very important. You have done kirtan, you hear Krishna's pastimes, and then when you go to sleep, you dream about Krishna. Then your life is successful. So that is why before sleeping, we should hear about Krishna and then go to sleep. Then in sleep also we'll be able to think of Krishna. However, this has to be practiced, Prabhupada is telling. This has to be practiced by a devotee who is extremely busy, so much so that he cannot chant even 16 rounds. He is also supposed to practice this. So how much others are supposed to follow? Even the devotee who is very busy, Prabhupada is telling, balance 23 hours. Whatever you are doing, whether you are eating or you are sleeping or you are working, you should think of. Now these 23 hours, whatever you do in them, either eating or working or sleeping, you always try to think of Krishna. That will keep you intact of Krishna consciousness. If one is always careful about falling down and prays to Krishna that he may not fall down on account of greater strength of Maya, then Krishna will give him special protection. This was advised to Arjuna by Krishna himself. Arjuna was a great fighter, statesman, and at the same time a great devotee. A statesman and military commander has very little time to perform the routine work of devotional service, but Krishna advised him specially to be engaged in his occupational duty and at the same time always be thinking of Krishna. So Krishna told to Arjuna, Tasma sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yudhyacha. Sarveshu kaleshu means at all times. Ma manusmara, thinking of me, yudhyacha, you fight. So sometimes people ask that, what does it mean that we have to always think of Krishna? Krishna has told this is most confidential instruction. Man mana bhav mad bhakto. Always think of me. So what does it mean thinking of Krishna? If we are doing our work, how can we think of Krishna? And some people even tell, do one thing at a time. When you are taking bath, just focus on taking bath. When you are walking, just focus on walking. You are gardening, just focus on gardening. Just focus. Do not do two things. And sometimes there is mental concoction also. Some people tell, do not chant while taking bath. Then while chanting, you'll think of something else. It will be wrong practice. But it is told no. Yes, for in mundane world, it might be true. But it is other way around while chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If we think of ordinary boy and girl affair, then what happens? Lust increases in the heart. But when we think of Krishna's affairs with the gopis, lust vanishes from the heart. It has the reverse effect. So although doing any ordinary mundane activity, coupling the activities may make you distracted, but when we chant Krishna's name, Prabhupada explains, and we will also realize, if we have not realized so far, that if we chant always, if we focus on Krishna, we can focus on anything else. Because one who is always able to focus on the lotus feet of Krishna, he is freed from the influence of three modes of nature. And thus he can do whatever he likes. So one who has learned how to focus on Krishna always can focus on anything else. Initially, yes, it needs practice. It might be distracting. So we have to, Prabhupada gives example. Women in our country, India, they go to the riverside or the lake and they fill water. And how do they carry water? In pots on top of their heads. And sometimes there is pot over pot. And they are not holding also. And there are goats and children around them. They are taking care of them also. And they are walking without holding the pot. But the pot does not fall. So in a similar way, Prabhupada explains, you will be chanting Hare Krishna and you will be doing other activities also. Practice is required. So if you practice chanting Hare Krishna, always thinking of Krishna always, it will help us to focus on other duties also which we are doing in the service of Krishna. It does not distract us. Rather, it is required. So thus, sometimes it is concocted, do one thing at a time. No, when you are chanting, you chant. When you are doing other thing, no. Chanting is supposed to be done always. Sometimes devotees tell in kitchen when we are cooking, when you chant, something may come out of your mouth and land up. Of course, we should be careful, it should not happen. So some sampradayas, they tell that be very uh, tight-lipped. Don't open your lips even while you are cooking. But one devotee was chanting while cooking, and Prabhupada became very pleased. He told, very nice. Continue chanting. So Prabhupada always recommended, keep on chanting always. 24 hours one should be chanting. This practice should be done. So therefore, Prabhupada, very clearly it is mentioned here. Arjuna was a great fighter, statesman, at the same time a great devotee. But Krishna advised him specially to be engaged in his occupational duty and at the same time always be thinking of Krishna. So sometimes devotees will thinking of Krishna means thinking of Krishna's work, because Krishna's work is not different from Krishna. So if you are thinking of Krishna's work, if you are thinking of fighting, Arjuna was anyway fighting for Krishna on orders of Krishna. So just thinking of fighting should have been sufficient for him, but Prabhupada is explaining, no. Krishna advised him specially to be engaged in his occupational duty and at the same time always be thinking of Krishna. Engage in his occupational duty, at the same time be thinking of Krishna. In another lecture, Prabhupada explains, even though Krishna is in the background, because Krishna is right there with him in the chariot, still it is told, think of me. Krishna told him, think of me. Because as we discussed, one might be physically present with any person, but mentally he could be somewhere else. So even though Krishna is right there, one may forget. So that is why Krishna told, even though Krishna is there, still Krishna is telling, think of me and fight. So constant thinking of Krishna is very much important. This is the purpose of all yoga practice. Satatam smartavyam Vishnu vismartavyo na jatuchit. Sarve vidhi nishedasya retayoreva kinkaraha. There are so many rules and regulations in the Vedas. In Padma Purana it is mentioned. All the vidhi and nished, do's and don'ts, they are servants of this principle. What is the principle? Smartavyam satatam Vishnu. Always think of Krishna. Satatam means constantly. Vismartavyo na jatochit. Never forget Krishna for any moment. So thus this is the principle, and all other rules and regulations are servants. King Karaha means servant of this principle. This is the topmost principle. So many do's and don'ts are there. Eat this, do not eat this. Walk in this way, do not walk. Talk in this way, do not talk in this way. Work in this way, do not work in this way. This is pious, this is sinful. All these rules and regulations are meant just for this one principle. All the rules are subservient. King Karaha means servant of this principle. What is the principle? Smartavyam satatam Vishnur vismartavyo na jatuchit. Always think of Krishna satatam 24 hours and never forget him at any moment. Thus Prabhupada explains clearly, at the same time always be thinking of Krishna. Although Krishna is in the background, still Krishna is telling, think of me. Thinking of me, you fight. So when fighting can be done, fighting is very most serious affair. Great attention, focus is required to shoot arrows. In Olympics, how many gadgets they use to cover their eyes and focus on the goal. Great focus is required, but at that time, even at that time, it is told, you think of me and fight. So thus one should practice. Prabhupada has clearly mentioned, now these 23 hours, whatever you do, either eating, sleeping or working, you should constantly think of Krishna. This is very important. This is called Ananyaha Chintayanto Mam. But Arjuna explained, Chanchalam Himana Krishna, Pramati Ballavadridam Tasyaham Nigraham Manne Vayoreva Sudushkaram. But how do we do that? Mind is very, very fickle. Arjuna told, I can control the wind, but I cannot control the mind. So how to focus mind on Krishna? So yes, this is the first thing. This is again explained in the 12th chapter. Mai eva mana adhatsva, mai buddhim niveshaya. Mind should be absorbed in Krishna and intelligence also should be absorbed in Krishna. Trying to understand the instructions of Krishna or trying to plan how to engage in service of Krishna. In this way, mind intelligence should be absorbed. This is topmost devotional service. When Arjuna asked Krishna whether impersonalism, path of impersonalism is good or personal meditation is better. So Krishna told, path of impersonalism is full of troubles. Klesho adhikatarastesham. Klesha, lot of trouble is there. So that is why, mai eva mana adhasva, just think of me. absorb your intelligence in me. But if this is not possible, then what do? Abhyasa yogena tato, you practice the principle of thinking of me always. Engage yourself in my service. So thus, we have to, even though mind is fickle, if we practice the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga and engage in service of Krishna, then it will be possible to think of Krishna. That is why Prabhupada explains, in our movement, all the activities are centered around book distribution. Kriyasu yatvat charanaravindayoho, charan aravindayoho, kriyasu, by manual labor, when we engage, when we work hard for Krishna, such activities always remind us of the lotus feet of Krishna. So simply by thinking, otherwise Prabhupada would have told, sit in front of deity and keep on looking, keep on thinking. But no, yes, although we have to practice, but this practice will be done when we actually engage in the service of Krishna. However, we have to understand, we have to attain this principle, constantly thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna. Tesham nitya bhyuktanam, one who are engaged in this manner, constantly thinking of his lotus feet, always engaged in his service for them, yoga kshemam vahamiham. Materially and spiritually, both, the devotees are very, very comfortable. Very, very comfortable. Everything is provided by Krishna. So thus we should try to take this example from Yudhishthir Maharaj. Everything will be plentiful. All the natural resources will be supplied. If we follow personally in our life, personally, we will never have any deficit, any trouble in our life. Just practice the footsteps. Understand we are agent of the Lord, so that these resources can be used in the service of Lord, not for my personal pleasure, and constantly be thinking of Krishna, working for Krishna. Then everything is in abundance. With this, we will end. Any questions? Yes, it 1,000 times will work, but we have to focus also. That is most important. So if we are doing offensive chanting, it is not going to help us. So sometimes if there is disturbance, then thus Prabhupada is explaining, attention is most important. Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. It is not about temple hall. It is about temple. So that conversation is about Vrindavan, where some devotees had gone to other place away from temple for some work. So Prabhupada told, we think it is about temple hall. It's not about temple hall. It's about temple. Because how many devotees will fit? So that is about temple. They had gone other place away from the Krishna Balram temple. So in temple, one should chant. Temple is like dham. In dham, you chant, you get 1,000 times. Similarly, in the temple, if you chant 1,000 times. Yeah. No. The temple means this place. Yeah. But if there is lot of distraction here, better go to garden. Attention is most important. And definitely 1,000 times. But if we are not attentive, there is no purification, hardly any purification at all. That becomes offensive chanting. Yes. Mhm. Yes, yes. In temple, if somebody chants or in front of Tulsi Maharani, there is 1,000 times more advantage. So that is why we should try to chant in temple only. Hmm. Hmm. Question is, Arjuna was fighting, and fighting, so many things are required, so many technical details, and you have to focus on. You have to be alert. Somebody is attacking, defending yourself. So in such a situation, how is it possible to think of Krishna? So Prabhupada gives very nice example. It is possible because Arjuna has got attachment for Krishna. When we have attachment for somebody, then we can think. Prabhupada gives example of a woman who is having an affair outside, other than husband. So even though she is doing all the household duties nicely, she is always thinking when she'll get chance to meet that man. Rather, she'll be doing duties more nicely so that nobody Doubt, sir. And we shared another instance also. This devotee realized, he told Prabhu, I was also thinking how somebody can think of Krishna always. But when I had breakup, I was thinking of that girl always. While I'm studying, I'm writing exam, I'm brooming, I'm cooking. I'm not able to forget her at all. So when it is possible for a mundane person, it is possible for Krishna. What we have to have is attachment for Krishna. Soldiers also, soldier is fighting. Before dying, he wants to take the wallet out, see the photo of his family members. He's always thinking of family because he has got attachment. So we have to have attachment. Yes. We'll come back. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Question is Yogakshemam Vahamyam applies to whom? The neophyte or the advanced devotee? Because neophyte cannot do Ananya Chintayantamam. But we also discussed neophyte is getting his desires fulfilled also. So that is why to the degree a person advances, in that proportion Krishna will take care. When one surrenders completely, Krishna takes complete care. Yes. 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 A very nice question. There are three very important things. One is attention, then there is intention, and then there is repetition also. So what should we do? Sometimes people tell, no, let me not repeat Hare Krishna mantra. Just one mantra, I'll get completely into it. Enter each and every word, just one mantra I'll chant in a day, or let's say one round, but with great attention. But what is the use of repeating so many times when attention is very important? But sometimes it is told that no, you keep on repeating always throughout the day. So what is important? How should we plan it? So, and yes, of course, third very important thing, attention is there and repetition is there. Intention is also very important. What is our intention? So that is why all the things are very much required. Attention is important, intention is important, and repetition is also important. And how to execute it in what proportion? For that, we have to follow the instructions of spiritual master. So thus, Prabhupada has told us, you chant, you may not be able to repeat entire day. At least try to repeat for 16 rounds. So that is why we need guidance because our mind can tell us. If I chant 2 hours, it is so difficult. I'm more comfortable chanting less rounds with greater attention. So where is that number? Somebody can tell I am comfortable chanting 4 rounds. Somebody can tell I'm comfortable chanting 1 round. Somebody will chant, I'm just Krishna, one name I will chant. So where to fix? How much to do? For this guidance of spiritual master is required. So thus we have got the guidance of repeating for 16 rounds. And in those 16 rounds, yes, they have to be done with as much attention as possible, whatever is done from our side. And at the same time, intention is very important, Prabhupada explains. One who chants purely with the intention of serving Krishna while chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra for giving pleasure to Krishna, he makes very rapid spiritual advancement. We can chant for our personal pleasure also. Somebody can chant for material desires also. So if you are having material desires while chanting Hare Krishna mantra, those desires will be fulfilled. But we will not get the result, actual spiritual advancement, love for Krishna for that. Somebody can chant Hare Krishna for getting moksha liberation, he will get it. Or somebody can chant just for having peace of mind. But one who chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra with the intention of serving Krishna, for pleasing Krishna, this is the greatest intention we can have. So all the three things very important. Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So nice question. So there is dharma of a householder we discussed to protect all the animals. And then there in Namibia, it is told they have decided to kill some 750 animals, big animals, because there is food crisis. They are telling 85% of people are starving or like that. So if there is no food, what to do? Thus, the dharma is of various degrees. That is why Chanakya Pandit tells for saving one person, for saving family, one person can be sacrificed, and for saving village, family can be sacrificed, and for saving a district, one village can be sacrificed, and for self realization, everything can be sacrificed. त्यजेदेकं कुलस्यार्थे ग्रामस्यार्थे कुलं त्यजेत् त्यजेत् जनपदस्यार्थे ग्रामम आत्मानं पृथ्वीं त्यजेत्. Entire world, Prithvi, can be sacrificed for self-realization. So thus it is told, comparison is given. How self-realization is it is more important than saving entire state also. And thus it is told in Bhagavatam also when, uh, who was that king, father of Prachetas? He was a king, he was responsible for maintaining the kingdom. And he told, and his children actually were going to come back. And he was telling, yes, I have agreed that self realization is the aim of life. Let my sons come back. Let them take charge of the kingdom. Then I will definitely come with you. I'll go. I'll renounce. But Narad Muni told, no, renounce immediately. And it actually so happened that the kingdom became topsy turvied. So much so that they were not able to even control the growth of vegetation. And when the Prachetas came back, they saw the kingdom has become completely covered by vegetation. It is all trees and grass everywhere. They got so much disturbed, seeing the state of their nation. And then they started burning the trees in anger. So the whole kingdom, whole management got disturbed. So why such decision? No, by the control of nature, if the management is supposed to go bad, it will go bad. If it is supposed to happen, it will happen. So nature will appoint some other person to do that. So thus very, very important. So Prabhupada explains the shlokas of Chanakya are very important for our practical activities. He was, of course, not a pure devotee, but he was a very wise man, a Brahmin. So for day-to-day affairs, his shlokas are very, very important. He is authority on the daily affairs. Very wise man. So similarly, yes, definitely the animals should be protected. But in Ayurveda itself, as it is explained, Dravyagana, that some animals are used to uh, make medicines for the people for survival. So animals can be killed for survival. So it is okay to give up this duty when there is a question of survival. But in general cases, it should not be done. Online? Online, somebody is there? Acha, people got to know. Because we have started streaming on new channel today onwards. Any other question? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That also it is the question is there are so many problems in life. Mind gets stuck in the problems. How to practice thinking always. So that is what we also discussed. Just by thinking, we cannot actually execute thinking. We have to please Krishna, and when Krishna is pleased, he will control our mind and he'll become manifest in our mind. That is why we discuss. Prabhupada has explained. Otherwise, if thinking is topmost, we all understand smartavyam satatam. Prabhupada would have told, just be here and thinking of Krishna, keep thinking of Krishna. What is the need of chanting even? No. So that is why the entire program that we have, if we chant Hare Krishna mantra very, very nicely, automatically the holy name will reveal the form of Krishna. and then the qualities of Krishna, then the pastimes of Krishna, associates of Krishna, our constitutional position, everything is revealed by the holy name. So the form of Krishna will be revealed by the holy name by chanting very nicely. So thus this process we have to follow, all the rules and regulations we have to follow. And especially Prabhupada has explained, as we discussed in the 10th canto, when kriyasu yatvat charanara vindayoho, kriyasu manual labor, when we work hard to distribute the books of Krishna, such activities always remind one of the lotus feet of Krishna. So when we work for Krishna, that is why it is told in 12th chapter we discussed. If we are not able to think of Krishna always, then we practice the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti and we engage in the service of Krishna. So that is why we have to work very hard for Krishna. If we cannot serve Krishna directly, then wherever we are working, the results of that activity, the money we can offer in the service of Krishna. So in this way, by working for Krishna or offering the results of our work to Krishna and following the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti, one will be able to think of Krishna. We'll finish here. ग्रंथ Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की